There's a couple of verses in those readings that we just heard that I especially want to focus on this morning. So I'm going to give you the verses first of all. The first one we heard is from Isaiah. Now these readings, I got to tell you, they go back, they were written ages ago. And yet it's surprising how poignant they are, speaking into our lives and into our world even today. So here's the first verse. This one was from Isaiah. See if this one rings true to you. Why do you spend your money on what does not satisfy? Can you relate to that one? I know I sure can. And then how about this one? This is from the feeding of the 5,000. This is what the disciples say to Jesus. All we have here are 5 loaves and 2 fish. All we have. First one, the one from Isaiah, I think, speaks to the emptiness in our souls that we have tried to fill. We've tried to fill with so many things that don't satisfy us. And the second verse speaks to this idea that we just never have what we need. We're always lacking. There's never enough. There never can ever be enough to do and feel what is right for us or what we feel God is calling us for. We spend our money on lots and lots of things. In 21st century Western world, if nothing else, we have mastered the art of producing and marketing consumer goods. And because of that, we have filled our houses, we have filled our garages, we have filled our storage sheds and our closets with things. The accumulation is not limited to the rich. Now, they may have better things than the rest of us, but we all have lots of things. We all have lots of stuff. And it's not even just physical stuff anymore. So much of the stuff we have and we want nowadays is digital. There's an app, I think, for pretty much anything you can possibly think of, and it's all right there at your fingertips. And nowadays, you don't even have to go to the store. You don't have to put up with traffic and crowds and parking to get the stuff we want anymore. Amazon and all the rest have made it so easy. Our wish can be fulfilled in 2 days with free shipping. It's an amazing time to be alive. Why then do we still feel so empty? Turns out we want and we need more than just stuff, more than the latest gadget, more than the coolest app. I'm going to invite you either to pick up your bulletin or look on the screen. We're going to put some words up there on the screen. I got these. This was published in Huffington News. It was a blog post by a woman named Kathy Caprino. The title of the article or the blog was this: the top 10 things people want in life but can't seem to get. The top 10 things people want in life and can't seem to get. Now I have to put a little disclaimer in there. I added to something else. Because as I was looking at the list, I realized there was one really big thing that some people might want, which wasn't included in that blog. So I added something else. So if something you really want and you can't seem to get isn't on there, it falls under the heading of something else. So what I want you to do, take a look at that list. Don't overthink it. But what is the one thing on there that you want the most? And I'm going to invite you to share. We've got little Mike, the catch box here. We're going to use it again today. What's one thing on that list that you really want the most?
Good health.
Good health. That was the something else that I was thinking of, actually. I looked at that list and I thought, you know what? If somebody is dealing with chronic health issues, all the rest of that fades into the background because health becomes the most important thing. Thank you for pointing that out. What's the one thing you want?
Brotherly love.
Brotherly love, okay. Any of those fit? Any of those other words fit? Maybe peace? Closest. Not exactly the same. Others? Who would like to? Come on. There's a lot of people here.
I'll go for joy.
Okay, you got to say it in the catch box.
Joy.
Joy. So why can't you get joy? What's...
My own.
Okay. Anybody else? Can you catch? Wayne, what do you want?
I want peace.
Peace. Okay, hold on to that for a minute. What? Say a little bit more about what you mean by peace.
Well, for me, peace, because I spent 20 years in the military and I see what's going on in the world today. It's a very dangerous world we live in, and I would love to see peace come to this planet.
Great, thank you. Kathleen, what do you want?
I want family. I want my brothers always be with me.
Aw, that's sweet. Who else? Cindy, what do you want?
I want quiet.
Quiet. Why do you want quiet?
Because my life is not quiet.
Anybody else want to share? See, anybody else waving their hand wildly? You know, when I looked at this list the first time, I have to tell you, I looked at them and I said, you know what? I want them all. But because I knew I was going to ask you to pick one word, I decided, well, which is the one that stands out the most for me? And I decided the word that really stands out for me is fulfillment. And I suppose you got to define fulfillment in all different ways, but for me it's like, okay, here's all the things I've been blessed with. What am I going to do with that? Am I going to accomplish something that's good, maybe helps people, or something that's pleasing in God's sight? And like all of you, I fall far short on all that, but even in those little tiny instances where I feel that happens, it feels really good for me. And so that's why fulfillment jumped out at me. Another thing I noticed about this list is as you look at them, only one of those items up there is something you can quantify. That's money. And even money, if I say I want money, and I do, like I said, I want them all, but what I want is probably not going to be the same as what you want or what somebody else wants. Our own definition of what we need is all very different. So what keeps us from getting what we want? I'm going to invite you to share again. So what stands in the way? Anybody? What stands in the way of us getting those things that we want? Anybody? And they were brave at the first service. Come on. Veronica.
Well, to me, it's just a matter of a perception. What keeps me is when I start thinking about either the past or the future and not relaxing in the now, where in that now I may have all that I want.
Okay. Being present in the now. The difficulty of doing that is what stands in the way. Anybody else want to share what stands in the way? Robin. I was going to ask if you guys remember what stood in the way of the first service.
Well, like all good former military members, I picked peace too, Wayne. So I said greed stands in the way of our world peace.
Do you remember some of the ones that people mentioned as standing in the way at the first service? One of them was time, which I thought was fascinating. That just there were so many pressures on their time that they could not. That it just stood in the way. They couldn't get to these things that they wanted. Nancy. No, but they can't all hear you.
Looking in the wrong place.
Looking in the wrong place. Okay. Very good. And maybe sometimes looking in the wrong place and looking for the wrong things too, right? Sometimes we chase down rabbit holes and stuff. So what stands in the way? Think of those disciples. What stood in the way for them? They said, but all we have, 5 loaves and 2 fish. On a personal level, that would be great if I could do that, but, and be all those other things, time, and I don't have time, and I don't have money, too many pressures, etc., etc. For congregations, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could do this, whatever this is, but where is it? We don't have the budget for it. We don't have the talented people to do it. We can come up with we don't have the space, the right facilities. There's always something that seems to stand in the way. Many of you know that in my ministry with a larger church, pastors usually do something with a larger church, and the thing that I've come to specialize in is I coach. I'm an ELCA coach, and basically what coaching is in this context is I work with individuals and with leaders of congregations to help them find the key that would unlock that barrier that stands in the way of whatever they sense God is calling them to. So one of the guiding principles of coaching in the ELC is this: God provides everything needed to accomplish God's purposes for every leader and every congregation. I'm going to say that again. God provides everything needed to accomplish God's purposes for every leader and every congregation. So if I'm coaching a congregation, leaders of a congregation, I'm coaching an individual, I guess one of the first things we want to figure out, what's God's purpose for you? And so I'll be asked the kind of questions that will get them to explore and actually say what they feel God's purpose is. Because the reason you have to do that is you know you can't be everything to all people, right? None of us can. Same with a congregation. It might be wonderful to do everything that every other congregation is doing. We can't do everything. No congregation can do everything. So what's God calling you to? What's God calling this congregation to? That's what you got to figure out first. And then I'm going to ask the kind of questions that are going to help you figure out what's standing in the way. What do you need? What are the steps you need to do to actually accomplish God's purpose, given that God's going to give us everything we need to accomplish that purpose? So let's look at the disciples again. Now they already know their mission here in this situation, right? Jesus, Son of God, has already said to them, you feed these people. So they got that first part figured out, right? They got a thing they got to do. We got to feed these people. So imagine a coach going to see them, and probably one of the first questions the coach is going to ask is, well, what do you have on hand? What do they have on hand? 5 loaves and 2 fish, right? And so then the coach is going, okay, all we have, I heard you say all we have is 5 loaves and 2 fish. Really, is that all? What else do you have? Oh, thank you. They got it at the first service, too. Yeah, the next question might be, who else do you have, right? We got Jesus. Well, how might Jesus help? Turns out Jesus has been known to do some impromptu catering and banquet supply before. You know, leaders in congregation members often get stuck in the mindset of all we have is. And when we start thinking that way, that's a mindset of scarcity. When we start thinking that way, the natural thing to do is just hang on to what little you think you have. So if the disciples start thinking that way, they're going to want to hang on to that 5 loaves and 2 fish, because otherwise they're not going to have anything to eat. So let's push those people away. We got to hang on to this little bit of food we've got. Organizations that start thinking this way, they tend to circle the wagons. Remember that from the old westerns? Circle your wagons up. Well, you circle your wagons up when you are worried about attacks from the outside. The problem for the church is once you circle your wagons, nobody can get in anymore, right? And really, nobody can get out either. You may stave off being overrun for a while, but you aren't going anywhere. And you aren't getting anything else done. God provides all we need to accomplish God's purpose for us. And what God is providing is more than just stuff. It's more than money. It's even more than the people who come and bring all kinds of amazing talents. God also provides you this. God provides you a love for your neighbors, a love for your community, a love for the world. God provides you a thirst for peace. We heard that a couple times already. God provides you a thirst for justice. God provides you with a hope of a future in which all of God's children know God's love and all of God's children can live in freedom. Remember those words we started with. Why do you spend your money on what does not satisfy? Well, the Lord offers an alternative in the very next verse. The very next verse after that is, listen now, my people, come to me. Come to me, and you will have life. In that second verse, all we have is 5 loaves and 2 fish. And when Jesus entered the picture there, what does it say? Everyone ate and had enough. And you know what? There were even leftovers. From emptiness and scarcity to fulfillment and abundance. Our God offers Our God provides abundance and satisfaction for you, for me, and for all.